So today we have my friend Steven with us. Steven, I'm so pumped for you to be here just because when we met 5, 6, 7 years ago, to look at where you were then versus now, you've grown exponentially in many ways over the past 3 years. And so thank you for being here with us, man.
Yeah, Carissa. No, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me, brother.
My
Good to
pleasure.
see
So
you.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I come from the construction background, a real estate background. The 20,000 foot view is I've been licensed as a home inspector, licensed as a real estate agent, and then now our main focus is a design build construction company called Renovating KC. So we're based over here in Lenexa. On top of that, that's all the career stuff. Also, personally, I've been married for 9 years now. My wife and I have three little girls together. They're 5, 2, and 1. And so it's the perfect combination of trying to, that's a circus at home. It's a circus here at the office. And so we just are consistently trying to find efficiencies in our day and just, living life.
Man, good for you. One of the things that I admire about you, other than being a husband and father and putting emphasis on having family values, and you have a beautiful family, by the way. You all look like you could be in a Target magazine clip or commercial. You guys are awesome, man.
Yeah, credit to my wife there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when it comes to your business, one of the things that I appreciate about what little bit about I know that you guys have done together is, man, you've really been working diligently to create a team. So I
Yeah.
personally would love for you to share more about team. What does it look like to build a team? What are some of the lessons you've learned as a result of building a team? So will you tell us about how you built this incredible team over the past few years?
Yeah, I think the DNA comes from two things really is to walk it way back. So my family culture growing up, I have an older brother who's a business partner and part owner here at Renovating KC as well, and then my parents. So as a family nucleus, we were always a team, right? We always did everything together. We could always lean on each other. My brother's been one of my best friends, if not my best friend, our entire lives. And so we've always kind of had this team. We've never had to feel like we have to do things on our own. Going throughout life, I was a big sports guy, so I played baseball all the way through college. Ended up playing Division 1 baseball and had a great time doing it. Again, similar concept, a team. So when I got out of school, something a lot of ex-athletes carry with us is this team camaraderie that we're all looking for. And in some businesses, quite frankly, most businesses, it's a struggle to find, especially in the corporate world, things like that. Finding a good team that you can lean on and trust and still have a kind of small family feel is very challenging. So when we started renovating KC, I knew that was going to be one of our core competencies was going to be how to build and how to have a good culture within our team. And it's been fun because when we launched Renovating KC in 2022, when we started the company, there's three of us that came together to start it. We had two employees. We're up to 20 now. So 30 months later, we're up to 20 total team members.
Wow.
And so we've been hiring, one every 2 months essentially. And
Dang.
we look for the certain things when it comes to building a team. How are they going to react within a team? I mean, we hire for certain positions, but we're hiring for the person. Right? It's the old adage like we can train you how to do this. We just need to know, are you a self-starter? Are you motivated? Will you fit into our team culture? And then we can teach you the ins and outs. So that's been the most exciting thing for us is bringing these people together and then we let them do their job. So I'm not a micromanager in the negative sense. I can certainly be a micromanager in a positive sense because there is a difference. And we give our people a huge leash and allow them to go out and screw things up and
Hmm.
make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And they come back and report back to us like, this is what I did. This is why it didn't work. And here's how I'm going to do it next time. And I don't have to say a word. And so for me, like that's what's most important for our team here is just giving them the leniency to figure out how to do this stuff on their own. And that's how this happens exponentially because we did that with the first 10 and then that 10 turned into 15 essentially 2 months later. So it's like it can just happen really quick.
So you and your brother have some experience and a desire to work together. You guys were close relationally and
Yeah.
launched this business together. Before we go too much further, tell me more about what you guys do at Renovating KC.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a full service design build firm. So we specialize in remodels. We can certainly do new construction, but our core competency is remodels.
Okay.
So We are the top notch in the general contractor world. So somebody comes to us, they're looking for a white glove experience. They're looking for somebody who can help with design, somebody who can help with value add to their property from a real estate investment perspective. And then obviously they're looking for somebody to execute on the remodel or the build. So we have people come to us where maybe they have a master bathroom that's 20 or 30 years old and they want to completely redesign the space there. So we execute that. Right now, this will be right up your alley with real estate. A lot of people bought that starter home, in 2019 to 2022, and then realized, hey, we got a pretty good rate. We got a pretty good setup here. We can't afford to buy the next family home. So maybe they'll put 1,000 square foot addition on that starter home. So they
Right.
can come to us. Our design team will engage third-party engineers and architects to build the structure and the plans, and then our team will execute the build. So full
Okay.
service design build, we've got it all here for sure.
It sounds like it. Wow.
Yeah.
What's your guys' specialty? What do you feel like you guys do incredibly well as a company?
Our most desired project, and well, I should say my most desired project because of my background, is the whole home remodel at the conclusion of a real estate transaction. So somebody just bought a house.
Mhm.
They bought it with a good realtor who advised them correctly, so they hopefully got a decent deal on it.
Right.
And it was is maybe had some issues with it. Maybe it wasn't as very dated or something like that. And then we come in and completely redesign the whole house with the investment and asset protection side in mind and the functionality protection and guidance on what the house is going to look like when we're done. So these people have not moved into the house yet and they contract us right away. We get involved sometimes pre-closing and then we get right into construction or pre-construction right as soon as closing happens. That's my favorite project. But we just crush like bathrooms, master bathrooms, guest bathrooms, Jack and Jill, basements. Somebody has an unfinished basement and they want a new basement. Like we crush those. But I like the whole home remodel. It's fun to redesign the entire space. And because people come to us, sometimes empty nesters, or sometimes they have 4 or 5 kids.
Right.
And each one's a little bit different. And now we get to take this, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square foot blank canvas and make it functional for their family while keeping the asset protection in mind.
Right. That's huge. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Thank you for sharing that. And on the idea of teamwork, Stephen, I love that's where we're going to camp out and focus on today because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner and coach, oftentimes I hear like this statement, and I used to believe this, which is, man, unless I do it myself, like just get out of my way, let me do it, because unless I do it, you're probably not going to do it as good as me anyway. So just let me do it.
Yep.
Where I feel like it's a trap of being an entrepreneur where I just get stuck in the cycle of just always having a job, meaning everything's, I wear all the hats and I just do all the things. But congratulations, now I'm self employed. So this
Exactly.
topic at team, man, I've scraped my knees a lot on it, and yet I could appreciate the fact, and I admire the fact of you guys putting emphasis on culture and building a team. I know from firsthand experience that does not happen unintentionally. So, will you share some of your best practices around building a team? Like, how do you? There's so much talent out there. How do you go about selecting talent? Just walk us through some of the things that you guys do tactically to make sure you're making a wise decision.
For sure. So that all starts with me when it comes to getting out of everyone else's way.
Hmm.
Because you just hit the nail on the head there. There are other business owners that all they do on a daily basis is get in their own way. And then they're frustrated. There's no good talent to hire. I can't, I'm having, and with the first, when I hear that, I'm just like, let's self dive into the mirror here really quick and figure out maybe why, because we don't have a problem hiring over here because we realize how to get out of our own way and hire for our weaknesses and not try to be strengthful at everything, right? So one of the biggest key practices that I personally have to do is delegation, and I've spoke about this on other podcasts before. Delegation is so key that when something comes in across my title over here is owner, but obviously also president. So my main job is to oversee business development in the sales side, but I also oversee a little bit of the pre-construction and design, and then a little bit of construction. I try to stay out of those lanes because we have other owners that are in those lanes. But I just try to help. We're all sounding boards for each other. So for me on the business development side and the present side, I could get lost in the weeds every single day. We have something that goes wrong on a construction side. I could get in my truck and drive out there and help solve the problem, but all I would be doing is getting in their way. I could certainly have a good solution, but there's a reason we have that team of people is they need to come up with their own solutions and implement those. I need to stay in my lane. So delegation is huge. When something comes through a phone call, email, whatever it might be, I've got to get that off of my plate as quickly as possible to the right person and who's in the right seat here at Renovating KC. And it sounds like, oh, well, Steven, you're just passing off all your responsibilities. Kind of. Like that's why we have a team. And that's why that team feels so appreciated is because I'm giving them things that a normal owner who might be struggling is just going to bury the hatchet there and just do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're getting, I've had people get involved on projects that they're like, hey man, shouldn't you be like overseeing this? I'm like, I'm overseeing everything. I'm not leaving you out, in the wind here. But
Right.
this is why you're here, and you are talented enough to do this. That's why we hired you, and that's why we're training you up. So it's time to go do. They do a couple of those projects, and next thing you know, they're like, oh yeah, I can do these things. And then they're locked in with us, and we've kind of mentored them, not necessarily managed them. So we do a little bit of both mentoring and management. But
What's
yeah,
the difference, you think?
mentorship is a little bit more, I think it's a little bit more like relationship and personality based, where I'm not here to solve your problems. I'm just your mentor and your sounding board and to give some advice. Whereas a manager can just say, here's the company handbook, here's the blueprint, here's what I need you to do. Please go do this. And I'm going to check in with you every 24 hours until this is done. A manager is more of that like micromanaging in a negative sense
Mm-hmm.
way, where a mentor is kind of like, hey, I'm a wealth of knowledge and you're a highly talented person. You come to me when you need me, but not every day. And I think that's how people really start to thrive is they have more of a mentor and less of a manager.
So
I
you're into people development, it sounds like, helping them develop in their leadership skills and
For sure. Yeah,
man.
I mean, we're in the white glove customer service business. We might build kitchens and basements and bathrooms, but we are in the very high level white glove service of customer service.
Unpack what you mean by white gloves.
Yeah, so white glove is just like we look at every detail. So
Hmm.
perfect example of, maybe when we demo a house, maybe it's a whole home demo. We site prep everything. We make sure the dumpster placement is agreed upon. We prep the driveway before the dumpster even gets set. We don't want to scrape a driveway. And all the way through the house, into the house, everything is protected. We may have made sure that the customer has alerted their HOA. We make sure that all necessary permits and licenses and all those requirements are met. We've thought through all of the little details that seem like kind of an annoyance to some customers, but we have to think through all of those things. So we've all kind of heard it in the past where maybe somebody hired a contractor and then after the project's done, they're like, oh, I wish I would have just maybe done it this way.
Sure.
Or I wish I would have paid a little bit more money to get like this cool feature that I didn't know existed. It's our job to bring all of those features to the forefront when we're deciding on this project and say, here's our recommendation based off an asset protection lens, and then here's what I think is going to be most functional for your house. So we really try to just think through all the details.
Sounds
We're
like
not
it.
order takers. So, some contractors are order takers, right? Where it's like, hey, I want this tile installed in my bathroom, how much to do it? That's not,
Hmm.
we're going to be like, why do you want this tile? Or how do you want the tile laid? Or do you want heated floors underneath that tile because you only get one chance to put the heated floors in? And so we're going to think through and kind of challenge all of the norms to make sure that that customer's getting exactly what they want, even if they didn't know some of these things existed.
Yeah,
Because
I see what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, our
Wow.
customers, most of them spend a lot of money with us.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a lot of money to me what some of these customers spend, and we can't take that for granted.
Yeah.
We have at any given time 30 to 40 customers in an active project state, which is a ton of money coming in. And we can essentially get in a groove of saying, oh, well, they're paying us 100 grand, they're paying us 200 grand, or they're paying us 500 grand, and just kind of breeze through that. Like, That's a lot of money, guys.
Hmm.
This customer is trusting us with potentially a huge savings account,
Right.
sometimes life savings. People have saved up for these projects for decades, and then they're coming to us and they're trusting us with their money. So we have to, we have to be respectful of that.
Yeah, that's so good. I can tell it's very important to you, and it's amazing to me that when I hear the placement of the driveway or the placement of the trash can in the driveway, like man, that's such a small detail, and yet it's amazing to me that you have a team that's on the same page with that level of detail within the organization. What that
Yeah.
tells me is, man, your guys' level of intentionality with leadership and development of people, it sounds like you guys are super intentional not only with the clients that entrust and hire you guys for your services, but that's the same attitude that you have as a culture within a company, even with your people as well.
Right. Like another perfect example is once a project's in construction, they have a dedicated project construction manager. So that construction manager oversees the physical site as well as customer communication, subcontractor communication, etc. But
Hmm.
every Tuesday and every Friday, they send a very detailed and templated email to the customer every Tuesday and every Friday until the project is complete.
Wow.
And so our customers don't feel like, oh, we're left in the dark. We're not sure what's happening because that email twice a week. Now we talk to them more than twice a week, obviously,
Sure.
especially if they're living in the home. We're seeing them every day. But they're getting a very detailed, updated scope of work, what's happening, why, when it's happening, why it's happening, twice a week. How often have we heard of friends and family hiring contractors like, oh yeah, I paid the guy some money and then maybe I didn't hear back from him for a week or two. That's a scary thing, and
Right.
unfortunately happens quite a bit. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we try to provide that white glove, high value customer service for sure.
So, what's been the biggest challenge over the past few years in building your business?
That's a great question. I've also said this before on a similar talk, but I heard somebody else say it and I loved it, so I professionally stole it from her. But we are essentially flying the plane while we're building it. So
Mm.
constantly, I hear people hear this in the office where we're flying the plane and we're building it too, right? And what that means is we have such accelerated growth here that we're on month 30, let's see, 32. I mean, we're already, into eight figures of lifetime business, 20 plus, 20 employees plus their families. So the ecosystem here is easily 100 people deep. So that's a big struggle. That's a lot of responsibility to take on to go from 0 to 32 months, from zero north of, significantly north of $10 million in lifetime sales. Um, it comes with a lot of struggle. And if you watch like a Shark Tank episode and they're like, oh, I
Hmm.
grew too fast and went out of business, and everyone's just sitting there thinking, oh, well, you grew too fast and you had too many sales. Like, how is it possible to go out of business?
Right.
And, people don't manage their cash flow. People aren't looking at the financials. Business owners aren't looking at the financials. There's a lot of things that can go wrong really fast when you're dealing with that amount of money. And that's been one of the biggest struggles for us is consistently learning when when we need to hit the pause button to work out one of these kinks before moving forward. Because my personality is like, let's go. Like, let's build this right now. I want this sales number. My sales guy's like, what's the sales target for next month? And I'll set it. And then 3 days later, I'm like, hey, what if we just like get a little bit? And he's like, dude, we just set this a few days ago. And because that's just my personality. Uh,
Sure.
Everyone's aware of that. I'm aware of it. I make sure that the team knows this is, I'm sorry that sometimes I come off a little bit like this. And my general manager, Alex Devine, he'll be like, hey, man, just take it down a little bit. But that's my role in the company is to be the visionary, to be the business development guy, to make sure that we are just chugging along as fast as possible. But that has gotten us in trouble before. Flying the plane while we're building it is not a very safe tactic. So I had to employ and deploy my responsibilities and delegations to other people in the company to make sure that they're getting this back end stuff figured out that I just breezed right over. So it's
Okay. Yeah. So what's share with us a lesson or two that you've learned just along the way. Say there's somebody out there listening that's launching a business and they or maybe they're just stagnant in their business and they're like, "Man, I want to tell me more about that hitting the accelerator if there's someone out there that desires that."
yeah, our our fractional CFO and consultants that we've had in here, this will still drive them nuts. But this is my opinion as an entrepreneur and as a person. But sales fixes everything. If you can learn how to sell correctly, and if you can learn how to sell for what your numbers are, meaning what your margins need to be, etc. If you can learn how to sell, then it fixes all problems. Now, you have to realize you need to figure out how to do the work and how to manage the work and how to look at finances, how to look at cash flow management and stuff like that. But if you can sell, you have a massive head start because there's the art of selling, in my opinion, we get not to get into like generational here, but kids that are coming out of college now, kids that are younger, I call them kids. I'm 35, but I feel like the art of selling is starting to become a lost art. And they're so used to just, I'm going to post this on Instagram and someone's going to hit the order button and there's no relationship thing
Right.
where it's like, I do relationship selling. So I'm not a used car salesman. I'm not a one call close guy unless I need to be for something, but I'm a relationship salesperson. And for me, if you can figure out how to sell something relationally because you're passionate about something, then your business will succeed. So somebody, you asked a question for somebody who's maybe starting out in business, something like that, figure out how to sell. And you can do that. You can read all the books you want. You can do all that fun stuff, but getting around other highly functioning and successful salespeople is
Mm.
probably the best way to do it.
Is there a book, a podcast, a influencer online maybe that you would recommend that's been helpful to expand your thinking on selling relationally?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick it old school. I mean, I certainly have some podcasts and some stuff that I look up to, but I kick it old. My mom was in sales her whole career. She
Hmm.
was with the same company for almost 40 years, and it was sales. She was a sales role that she was in, and she sold based off of emotion and relationship. And I was around that my whole life, my whole childhood. And then so I just took it for granted initially, like, oh, well, everyone just knows how to do this. And then I
Sure.
quickly realized when I got out of school, like, hey, nobody knows how to do this as far as I'm concerned. And so she's been the biggest influence for me from a sales side because she knows how to do it. She knows how to do it well, and she did it forever. Um, and I
Okay.
luckily got to grow up with that.
So
So
we just need to reach out to your mom then.
exactly. She's
Nice.
retired now. She's living her best life, retired, and so she's
Wow.
enjoying that right now.
Okay. Have you had her on your podcast show
I
before?
have. I
Man,
know
that may be an interesting topic.
we need to get some content
Yeah.
together for her for
That's
sure.
cool, man. So,
Funny.
step number one, if somebody's looking to accelerate their growth in their business, is going to be learning to sell relationally. Is there a step number two that you want to recommend?
For me, step number two is the boring side of it, and it's the finance side. And I wish I heavily would have paid more attention in college in accounting class.
Hmm.
And it's very boring. It's very monotonous as far as I'm concerned. I'm a sales guy. I'm a people person. I
Right.
feed off energy from other people. So to sit down at a computer and start looking at numbers, I can do it. It's fine, but it's not my passion.
Hmm.
But we've had to learn the hard ways where we would go a few months without figuring out what our numbers were. And then we're like, hey guys, where's the cash flow at here? And then we'd have to back it up, work through, and like, oh, there's where it went. Um,
Right.
so getting comfortable with financials, learn how to sell, get comfortable with financials. Now I'm speaking through the lens of the business owner, right? So I'm assuming that you've deployed and employed people to do the work, whether it's a manager or whatever it is, field crew or whatever business you're in. I'm assuming that you've hired the necessary roles in your company to do the whatever it is.
Hmm.
But I'm just saying from the business owner perspective is learn how to sell and then learn how to read financials and take care of your financials.
Okay. Any specific recommendation of a book, a course, or class to take, or someone to listen to when it comes to leveling up on the financial side, bookkeeping side?
Um, Out of the gate, the best way to do it is like, so we use QuickBooks. The best way
Hmm.
to do it is get very comfortable with QuickBooks before you put any data in it. So, like when you start your business, you should launch your QuickBooks or whatever accounting software you want to use immediately. There's so many good YouTube videos on how to do that. So that's kind of the elementary step one. The kind of like next level up from that is get to a point where you can hire a professional to come in. Again, delegation, right? It's my theme. get to a point where you can hire like a fractional CFO or somebody who can at least get into your financials and take a different look into them and say, here's the reports on the last quarter, quarter before, month over month, year over year, those kinds of things. So step
Okay.
one is start the accounting software and just kind of self-teach yourself on how to get started, and then
Hmm.
hopefully get to a point where you can hire in some outside help sooner than later. Because
Okay.
just like everything else, if you do uh, the financial side is a non-revenue generating activity. That's how I see it. I can't generate. I can certainly cut costs and save on expenses, and I can make more money by viewing the financials. But you're
Right.
certainly not going to sell any new projects by reviewing your financials.
Yeah. It's not
So
going to
for
move the
me,
needle. It's not going to move the company forward.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I only allow myself to spend so much percentage of my day on non-revenue generating activities
Hmm.
because that's my role. I'm the business development guy. I need to make sure that we are moving forward, but I can't neglect those non-revenue generating because they're very important. So,
Hmm. Sounds like it. Is there a third tip that you have for someone looking to accelerate?
man, just figure out how to have fun.
Have
You
fun?
know, like my grandpa always said it as the last thing he said to us every time we left him, whether it was a barbecue or golf or whatever. He's just like, "All right, Steven, I'll see you later. Like, have fun." And it
Wow.
seems so simple.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody on the Olympics, Scotty Scheffler, who won the golf gold medal for the men's US. Everyone wrote these boards on what they wanted to, what their goals were for the Olympics. Everybody put gold medal, blah blah, and his literally said have fun. And I was like,
Wow. That stands out.
yeah, and
Yeah. Good for
it comes
him.
true. Like you got to figure out how to sell, how to do the financials, and then you just got to figure out how to have fun doing it. And
Yeah.
for some business owners that start, they have a hard time deciphering what's hard and what's fun. And some of them struggle because they're like, oh, well, this isn't fun. It's like, well, no, that was just hard. And until you figured out how to get through that hard part, then you can get back to having the fun. So some people shut their business down because like, well, I've been instructed to enjoy what I'm doing, but I don't enjoy this. It's like there's a very fine line between you just are going through the suck right now. There's something on the other side, or you're just launched a business and started an industry or service that you just don't like. That's more what I'm speaking to. Get into something where you're passionate about and you know that you're going to have fun doing.
Man, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, as a team, with you emphasizing fun and just knowing you, Stephen, I just imagine part of fun being part of your culture. Is that a true statement? So, what do you
It's
guys do together as a team where your team would be like, man, we're having some fun together? What are you
oh
guys
man,
doing? Have you, go ahead.
yeah, no, that's a funny question because I got a slap on the wrist from our accountant and fractional CFO for the amount of lunches that I was buying for the team. I'm a
Okay.
big lunch guy, especially in the office. And when we first got started, when we went without an office space for a year. We ran the first year of this business remotely, essentially. 2023, we signed a lease on an office space, 5,000 square foot facility over here in Lenexa. So people started officing out of here. And it every day for weeks, I was like, all right, who wants DoorDash? I'm ordering sandwiches or salads or Chipotle or burritos. And we would all sit around kind of our conference table and just take 20, 25, 30 minutes and we would eat and we would just hang out. And I hired a lot of my friends from the
Hmm.
beginning, which helps. So it was nothing different than, hey, we're just kind of hanging around here, shooting the breeze with our friends. And when it came time for my CPA to say, hey, are these working lunches? Are you doing anything with these lunches? And I was like, these are the most workable lunches I've ever heard. And he was like, hey, you can't write all that off. So we had to take a backseat on that. But trying to develop, if don't overthink it, like trying to develop things around the office that are small and seem simple. And you don't need to have napping pods at your office or what, all the fancy tech companies do all this crazy stuff. That would certainly
Sure.
be great, but saying hi to people, talking to people,
Yeah.
buying them energy drinks or buying them lunch or letting them leave early if they don't feel well or letting them leave early if they got an appointment that they need to get to or if it's their birthday, like, hey, get out of here or if their husband or spouse has been traveling or whatever and they get back in town and they haven't seen him for a week or two. Like, hey, why don't you get out of here? And is your work done? Yeah, my work's done. Okay, then get out of here. Like, go have fun.
Right.
And those little things go a long way. Now, there's a fine line between being too lenient, and we've certainly pushed that. with some people, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well now we're kind of just starting to take advantage of this, and that's not the norm that
Sure.
we are involved with. But the team that we have here now doesn't have a problem with that at all. They know they're supposed to come in and get their work done, and then if I do a good job, then I'm going to get taken care of.
So it
And they,
sounds like you guys care a lot. That's part of your culture where you look for these small but significant ways to show that you care, whether it's a family situation, it's those small things. I mean, that's life. It's the small things that compound and add up and become big over time. But it sounds
100%.
like you guys have fun together. It's obvious that you care for your team. How do you handle it when somebody's not meeting the requirements of the job description?
It's tough. There's several different ways to approach it. There, and especially in construction, right? Let's just assume it's somebody on the construction side of our business.
Hmm.
The old school mantra is screaming and yelling. The old school construction is just, oh, send them home and they don't get paid for today and scream and yell at them and blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
And that's how, like Chris, who's the third owner here, that's how he went through the trades, and that's how he earned his stripes coming up in the construction world. Was he just worked for a bunch of people like that? And so we kind of meshed that with kind of new age management style of kind of leading with, with empathy. And for us, it's just trying to understand what the core of the problem was, and then how can we help. And if you have a talented person who's maybe just going through a low point or a slump or whatever, the last thing they need is to be yelled at and reprimanded. They need to say, "Hey, I might be the owner and president of this company, but I work for and with you. So if you're struggling, I'm going to struggle. So if I need to carve out 2 hours of my day once a week for the next few weeks to help you get out of this rut or slump, then I have to do that. And I'm willing to do it because you're on my team and we're on this team together." So people had that have been in construction and been managed the other way. When they hear that, they're kind of like, I've never really heard this before. This makes a lot of sense. This guy might hopefully take care of me. And it's like, it's not just me, it's the other owners and our other management as well. But that's kind of the theory that we have, is figure out what we need to do better. Because I always look in the mirror first. If a manager comes to me and says, this guy's really struggling with this, or one of my managers is struggling, the first thing I say is, man, what did I do wrong here? And we'll be talking with the other owners, my brother, whatever, and he's like, I don't think we did anything wrong. I think it's them. And I was like, it's got to be us. It's got to start with us. So did we not train them enough? Did we not give them the right tools? What is it that we screwed up or we overlooked that caused this to happen?
Yeah.
And sometimes it is them, but also sometimes it's us.
Hmm.
And business owners and managers need to, kind of figure that out.
Reminds me of Jocko Willick's Extreme Ownership,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, if you don't want to take responsibility for your actions and everyone else's actions, then you probably shouldn't be a business owner,
Right.
because it's your responsibility. And
Good call on that.
if your teammate is struggling, there is 100% something that you can do as a business owner to help them 100% of the time.
Right.
So if you're willing to be a visionary business owner and look towards the future and growth and development, etc., then you have to look through some type of lens like that to be able to help your team get through these things.
Right. I believe when we first met, Stephen, you were, I was I was overseeing the Raymore Keller Williams
Yeah.
office. And one of the things that I learned there is that my business grows to the extent that I do, meaning that my personal growth and development is going to be mission critical to my business. So with this business growth and this business growth that you've experienced, how are you being intentional now to continue to grow yourself personally so you can continue to grow your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it kind of ties back in beautifully with like what we've already been talking about, meaning the delegation part. So I'm in a point with this business now that I get to do things like what we're doing right now, having this conversation with you. 18 months ago, I wouldn't have had time for these things because I'm too busy working in the business.
Mhm.
Now all I do is work on the business, right? So the revenue generating activities versus business development, that's all I'm doing now is working on the business. So I find myself having conversations with, gentlemen like yourself and other people who are running other podcasts, other companies who have elevated themselves to a similar level or a significantly higher level than I'm at. And I just want to be around those people. The
Yeah.
more that you can get connected with people who, or specifically if we're talking about other business owners who have elevated themselves out of their business and are a true visionary, the book Rocket Fuel. I'm the visionary for sure. I was gonna say, I know you have this book somewhere.
I need to revisit it actually. Thank you
Yeah,
for mentioning it.
for sure. So I'm the visionary to the T, and I've done. I've been told by Chris, who's one of the other owners, that I do a good job of not coming back and meddling in their business, and I just let them do their thing. And for me, I want the business to be successful. I want to be a part of the business because I want to be a part of the team. But I would love to take a step back and just watch this machine start to work because of the team that we hired and their passion and their talent, and just let them run the team and just kind of take a step back every once in a while, like, oh my gosh, like look what we built. And then I get to go do, okay, Steven, like, what else do you want to go do? Like,
Right.
this well-oiled machine just needs 20% of my time now. What can I go do? And how can I go pass on what I learned to other people? Because I really like that. I struggled to find a mentor right out of college. And I was just a 21, 22-year-old kid and went and got these BS sales jobs, cold calling, internal inside sales calls. I was making 100, 150 phone calls a day, just
Dial and dial.
slamming my face against the desk every chance I
Man.
got. And I really struggled to find a mentor that I could relate with. And so, I'm not God's gift to business ownership by any stretch of the imagination, but I've certainly learned some things over my years of doing this. And if I can pass that information along to anybody who was maybe in my seat 5, 10 years ago, I'm an open book. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to share my experiences and figure out how I can help. And what I find, Chris, is a lot of times I'll learn something right back. So it's a win-win for both
Yeah,
for both.
definitely. Yep.
So
So who you listening to right now? Like your book, the podcast that you're listening to, who's mentoring you right now?
I've got the book I'm reading right now. I try to read a little bit every day. I did 70. Well, I didn't do 75 hard. I did 68 hard, and
Okay.
then I misscheduled the start date, and my wife and I went to Mexico for just me and her. And I was like, I'm gonna go eat what I want and enjoy.
Sure.
So anyway, what got me started reading a couple, 10 pages a day as part of that 75 hard. So I still try to do that, but right now I'm reading Built to Last. It's a visionary book. It's a study on book on visionary companies and some really large scale companies and how they were able to either get started, get through tough times, get through depressions, get through all of these things, and trying to just look through the lens of these Fortune 500 companies and these multi-billion dollar companies. A lot of them started pretty small
Mm.
and they all have been through tough times. So I'm reading through that right now. I'm only like 3 or 4 chapters in, but it's super interesting.
Okay.
I like the case study lens that they wrote the book through, so it's pretty interesting to me. Um, but yeah,
Nice.
I just read through. Excuse me. Oh, I can't remember his name. He was a former Navy SEAL. He has 3 or 4. Um,
You can't
oh
hurt me, David Goggins.
no, I started that one too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. It's intense.
I'll think of it. I'll think of it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
he
cool.
has shared some really great life lessons of what he learned in time of
Okay.
service and stuff like that. Um,
Nice.
I like those motivational type books.
I'm with
I'm
you.
not a big like story book reader. I'm
I'm
more
with you, man.
like
To
what
me, it
can
just
this?
feels like a waste of time, and yet I know some people really enjoy it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, if I'm
I'm a
with you.
big audio and visual guy.
Okay.
I've been hooked on Gary Vee right now.
Yeah.
The Gary Vee Experience. He has a channel on Spotify. That's a very unique channel because it has
Hmm.
podcasts. It has some of his keynote talks, um, day in the life type stuff. And if
I'll
you
check
just
that
go
out.
through his Spotify stuff, some of them are only 2 or 3 minutes, and then some of them are like 60 minutes. And I'll just get in the truck and just turn on that and just I might get through a couple videos by the time I get to where I'm going. But I really
Man.
appreciate like his management style. He leads through
Mhm.
empathy, and he leads through that I care about people and I genuinely care about people. And I mean
Yeah.
just uber successful, entrepreneur and business owner. So I'm on the Gary Vee train right now for sure.
Nice. Yeah, he's definitely built an empire.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I've learned from him. It may even be a decade ago that has just stuck with me, man. Because a lot of times I'll listen to something, read something, and I'll just forget, honestly. And yet with Gary Vee, I heard him say, document, don't create. Document, don't create. In the context, he was talking about videos. And it was at a time when I'm like, man, okay, I desire to be on the front end of creating YouTube videos. And yet I was feeling that pressure that caused me not to take action, meaning not record the video, because I was feeling pressure to create. And with Gary, he was saying, just pull out your cell phone and share the story of what happened or what just happened. And I'm like, man, that just really helped set me free to engage in video more.
That's great advice. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt the same way historically. I met with a few marketing firms over the last few years, some here in town, which are great. And the feedback I consistently got was, who's the face of your company, Steven, and how often are they putting their face out there and what type of content? And at the time, we were hardly doing anything. We were doing
Mhm.
before and after photos. Here's the basement without, here's the basement after. Great. Like those are cool and they have their purpose for sure, but there was no personality online for our business. So I actually I try to hold myself as accountable as I can. So we went out and hired a content creator, and his name's Micah. He's sitting right here. Uh,
Nice.
he's recording this as well for some additional content, which would be sweet because that's the life we live in now, right? And
Right.
I when we hired Micah, like we didn't have like a clear cut game plan of what we were gonna do, and uh, when he got started, we were like, all right, like let's shoot some content about this. Let's shoot some content about this. Let's do the before and afters. Let's do some fly through videos. And I finally was just like, I've got to hold myself accountable to do this stuff. And if I have somebody on payroll, we got to figure out how to
Right.
make use of their service, right?
Yeah.
And it's been fantastic. And we've been posting all kinds of stuff. Our traction online has been so organic and so like the ROI to speak about it is huge. But the personality, the people that we've been able to connect with online just here in Kansas City is what it's all about for us. Like I could care less about getting to certainly having a million followers, one day would be real, that'd be
Sure.
cool. But for me and for where our business is at right now, like we just want to reach people who need our service in Kansas City.
Right.
And Micah is just crushing it. We also hired a part-time marketing admin named Kaylee, and same thing for her. So she's only in here a couple times a day. Micah creates the content, edits it up, and then sends it to Kaylee, and then she plugs it into the platform. So she's actually the one hitting the post button on Instagram or Facebook or
Okay.
YouTube or whatever it might be. So again, in the spirit of delegation, I was trying to do all that myself. I was doing a terrible job
Sure.
of it. I wasn't holding myself accountable. So, Steven, it's time to hold yourself accountable. Get these two people on payroll and let them do their thing. And they just crush. They're just crushing.
Man, a few weeks ago when I sent you a Facebook message, I went and Facebook stalked you. And so I now since I clicked on it, now you know how it is. It's showing
Yeah.
up more often on my feeds and stuff. And I'm thinking, man, the you guys must have one heck of a strategy because the content that you're creating, it's helpful, it's great information,
Yeah.
it's informative, and yet it's fun. Just
Yeah.
because you kind of have that casual vibe, which is in alignment with who you are, which I love. The fact that here you are having success, you show up in a t-shirt and a
Yeah.
backwards hat, like, man, that's so
It's
you,
just
and
us.
good for you on that,
Yeah.
man. And so
Yeah.
you're just what I see online is you're just being you and hitting record, and yet I could tell that you guys are not doing it randomly. You're doing it very intentionally,
We have
and
a
it looks
lot of it
great.
with heavy intention. And,
Yeah, it
I
shows.
was thinking to myself, how are we going to fill the schedule of a full-time content career? Like we're in construction. I don't
Hmm.
know of many other construction companies in Kansas City that have someone on payroll that has nothing to do with construction and is a content creator. And
Right.
I just had this feeling. I was like, I got this. I got this. We're gonna do it. And
Yeah.
did it. And his schedule is full, 40 plus hours a week. Every week he has something to do. And the only thing that's random that we do a hit or miss job about doing is we try to shoot some office content on Fridays, and it's geared to be silly type stuff and what's going on in that. We'll do like a quick rapid fire 20 questions, this or that. Something like who's got the messiest desk, and everyone gets a huge razz out of it. We try to post those on our stories on Fridays or
Nice.
whatever. And it is a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
we're documenting these projects and our process that the team spends so much time doing. And then when the construction manager gets to see their project go live online, whether it's on Instagram or whatever, and get a few thousand hits and
Mhm.
maybe a few dozen likes and all these comments, oh my gosh, this looks great. Like that means something to the people that work here at least.
Right.
They care about that. And to
Sure.
see their work broadcasted online for some people to see is a big deal.
Right.
And so that was an effect that it's had that I didn't account for that. I didn't even see that being a thing.
Hmm.
And the guys love it. So it's
What's the
fun.
name of the gentleman that's recording you?
Micah.
Micah. We'll have the privilege of meeting Micah next
Oh yeah.
month at the event.
Yes. Yep. Micah
Okay.
will be there.
Very good. Micah, I look forward to meeting you. And for everybody listening, I just want to let you know that the 26th of September in Kansas City at the Maverick Event Space, uh, Stephen is going to be one of our keynote speakers. Stephen, what's the topic you're going to share on?
So similar, kind of like a deep dive into what we've been discussing here. It's all about
Okay.
entrepreneurship with a business development and teamwork mindset. I'm also going to talk about a little bit of personal branding stuff,
Nice.
how my brain is wired. I'm going to try to do the best job I can to think out loud with the audience and just try to explain how I try to live my life, how I try to get through hard things, and share a little bit about how I've gotten to the success that I've had.
Okay, man, I'm pumped. I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
And where can we find you?
So right now, Instagram is the biggest thing. So the Renovating
Mhm.
KC page puts out a great content, more business geared content, and then my personal page, Stephen Ross on Instagram, Facebook.
Okay.
I try to share some good content, some family life stuff. I obviously share a lot of entrepreneurship content as well. But we're just getting started. We've got some really cool things in the works.
Okay, I'm gonna take those links and put them in the description or in the comments to make it easy for people to find you. And man, I appreciate your time so much. Congratulations. I'm just so happy for you, your family, and your team and what you guys are accomplishing. I mean, right here in my own backyard in Kansas City, man. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I
Yeah, my
appreciate everything
pleasure.
that you do, Chris. I mean, having me on here, it's always so fun to engage with you. I always
Thanks, man.
know when I'm around you, I got to be ready to roll because I'll share this quick story if I can. You know,
Yeah.
years when I first met you, I was kind of just sharing a little bit about how we own this business and whatever. And the next time I saw you, you just started hammering me with, what book are you reading? What book are you reading? And I was just like, I think I saw you at church and you were like, what book are you?
Yeah.
I was like, man, this guy is always on. He's always,
Man,
I love that about you. So never change that. And
appreciate that.
I hope everyone just gets to meet you and talk with you at
Thanks,
some
man.
point in your life because it's something.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm a firm believer, as you are, that success leaves clues. And so I could see you and the progress of who you become over the last 5 years. So you better believe that I'm going to be walking behind you, trying to
Yeah.
get these breadcrumbs of wisdom of who you're listening to and who's influencing you.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the ways that came up on our podcast a few weeks ago with my buddy Chris Pinion. It to me, it's like a life hack. When we see someone accomplishing the thing that we desire, whether it's health and fitness, financially, relationally, in marriage, or in business, I think it served me well at least to learn from them because success does leave clues, I believe. So thanks for being with us, and I appreciate you a ton. Keep having fun and keep crushing it, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
My pleasure.